I don't understand the point of having the largest military alliance, most powerful military alliance in the history of the universe, and basically rendering yourself impotent. I mean, I just don't get that. The whole point of that is that you have pressure that you can bring to bear. And all he has to do is act more and more like a madman, and the West becomes more and more afraid. The only people that don't seem to be afraid are the Ukrainians, and we keep fighting. You know, okay, you didn't want to lend us aircraft. Give us anti-aircraft and anti-missile systems. How hard is that? Those are defensive weapons. Bring them in, bring in Patriots, help us create an Iron Dome. I mean, you know, this is not rocket science, right? And why doesn't NATO set up a humanitarian corridor or corridors in Ukraine? I mean, they did it in Syria, they did it in Bosnia, they did it in Kosovo, in Iraq, and Afghanistan. Somehow we're a lesser form of being. We don't deserve that kind of respect for human dignity. And it just astounds me. You know, the response has been to buttress the NATO countries in Eastern Europe with Patriot systems. Great. So they get a front row seat as Ukrainians fight Putin. And we come back to the sense that, you know, the West is prepared to fight Putin down to the last Ukrainian and then surrender. Is the same consideration going to be given when Finland asks NATO to close its airspace when it comes under attack? Interesting question. Do the Baltic states and Poland and the Eastern European countries, are they wondering whether, you know, German, Dutch, French, Spanish, and Italian soldiers are prepared to come and fight for them as NATO members? NATO seems to be great at finding lots of excuses not to do something. I would like to see a couple of concrete actions. I've given you some that came to the top of my head. We are fighting Europe's war. We are fighting for the freedom of Europe. And it's great people are standing with us and you know, we feel your pain and all of that kind of stuff. Actually, you don't. You don't. And I think that, you know, I get a lot of calls from people saying, what can we do? You know, we feel so helpless and stuff. You know, this is all about people power. The Ukrainian people have shown that it's about people power. It's about people resistance and people pressure. We will do the fighting. We will do the dying, and we can win this war. But we can only win this war if the people in the West galvanize and put pressure on their governments to give us these simple things. Give us the humanitarian assistance guaranteed by NATO, give us anti-aircraft, anti-missile systems, and get us into the EU. I don't understand the Dutch and the German and the other positions saying that somehow we're still not ready. I mean, how many times do we have to go and die for European values and for the European freedoms that everybody claims to cherish in order to prove that we deserve to be in the EU? You know, freedom is a precious commodity. And unfortunately, in the West, we tend to take it for granted. We take it as an entitlement. Being a Europe whole, at peace, and free doesn't mean it comes at no cost. And I think we've proven that if you're not prepared to protect and defend those freedoms, somebody is going to come and take them away from you. And if he wins in Ukraine, which he won't, but if he feels he wins in Ukraine, he's coming after you next.